All right, I'm going to head over to YouTube to make sure I am live before we get started today. Let's see here. It says live, but I won't believe it until I see my face. Okay. Almost there. Great. Okay, well, let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Josie Warren, and I'm the autoimmune expert, and welcome to my channel. And before we get started, just a little bit about me is that I am a woman who used to have autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses for most of my life, starting early age 3 with allergies, and then going into my first autoimmune disease when I was 16. About every few years, I would get a new autoimmune disease or a new chronic illness. And by the time I was about 28, I had diseases like MS, I had gotten a CVID, I had rheumatoid arthritis and lupus, really bad anxiety, depression, an eating disorder, Raynaud's, terrible allergies. The list goes on. And it was a very frustrating time of my life coming into being an adult, and everything I was trying wasn't really healing me, whether that was the medications or the supplements, or the food diets. And thankfully, it all led me to where I work now. We're called a New Life Center, and we use emotional medicine. When I came here to a New Life Center, worked with my mentor, David Cope, took their program, I permanently healed. And the way I did that was our program looks at us and our emotional state as actually the root cause of all chronic illness and autoimmune disease. And when I addressed me and my unhealthy emotional state, I healed. I'm completely healthy. For 10 years, I've been healthy, not in remission, on no medications, no supplements, no diets. And I'm so blessed and privileged to now be able to take others, my students, down the same path of healing permanently of illness and disease. So again, welcome to my channel. And the inspiration for today's topic, really relevant for all of us women, it came from a video that I did recently on metabolic health, disease, and dysfunction. In that video, I came across a very startling quote from a well-known doctor who stated that even if we exercise and we eat right, we are still at risk for metabolic diseases like diabetes and also autoimmune diseases and chronic illnesses. And this, I sat with this more after the video, and I'll put the link for this video in the description below. But I sat with this after the video because it really rattled me, and thinking, wow, if we as individuals, as humans, are doing everything that we're told is the right thing to do, right? We're eating right, we're exercising, and maybe we're even out there and we're doing mind-body practices like yoga and meditation, and yet what they're saying is none of this matters, that at the end of the day, we're still at risk for illness and diseases, especially diseases like cancer. Well, like, what the heck? It's a major, pardon my French, what the F moment. So it led me to understand, and the inspiration for today's video, that this kind of unknown and out of control nature of our health, that what the doctors tell us to do, we're still at risk. This is actually the breeding ground for health anxiety. And that's the title of today's video: Why All Women Have Health Anxiety. And they say we all have health anxiety. So today what we're going to be doing is we are going to be exploring health anxiety. Why is it that as women we all have health anxiety? Where is it really coming from? And most importantly, how do we resolve our health anxiety and be in the driver's seat of our health and well-being, so we don't have to be people that worry about cancer, let's say down the road, or some kind of unknown illness or disease. And I'm also going to be sharing at the end of this video 10 ways you can know that you're healthy. 10 ways you can know you're healthy. And this list of 10 was created, we created it, my mentor did, David Cope, who's 71, and he is the shining example of what healthy really is. He's on no medication. He eats no special foods, doesn't take any supplements. He's completely healthy, has no illness or disease, and I know that he will continue to live the rest of his life that way. So he came up with this list that I will be sharing with you at the end. So first, let's define what is health anxiety. Now, health anxiety is the constant fear of getting a random mystery illness, especially cancer, caused by feeling not in control of our health and well-being. Now, all women have health anxiety. So if you're out there and you're wondering, is this me? Yes, it is. And as women, we fit into two sides, I'd say, of the same coin of health anxiety. On one side of the health anxiety coin, these are the women who have health anxiety, and they're the ones that bury their head in the sand about their health. Because, again, illness and disease feels random and out of their control. So as a result, these are the women that don't stay on top of their regular checkups. They actually avoid seeing their doctors and they put off their doctor's visits. They might actually even have symptoms or very real things happening in their body, but still don't want to see a doctor because they're terrified of knowing the real status of their health and getting an official diagnosis. So again, burying their head in the sand about their health. These are women who live in the fear of the unknown, that unknown status of their health. And it's this constant worry and fear of the unknown of their health that creates their health anxiety. So one side of the health anxiety coin of women. Now let's turn it over. And if you're not on that side, then you'll be in this other side of health anxiety for women. So again, both coming from the same place. But again, this other side is women who also live in fear of the unknown of their health, feeling that an illness and disease are random and worried that a mystery illness like cancer is going to happen to them. But instead of burying their head in the sand about it, they do the opposite. They desperately try to be in control and prevent a future of illness and disease that feels, again, very random. So what this looks like is these women are very hypervigilant about their health. They are the ones that are scanning their bodies, kind of looking for something that might be amiss or out of place. And when they find something, they're going to the worst case scenarios. These are women who are the big researchers that are online, that are on the message boards, trying to almost self-diagnose and going down those health rabbit holes. These are also women that can be over-focused on their diets, on supplements, on exercise to try to gain some semblance of control. They're doing research. They're seeing the doctors. They're likely also have their pulse on the new fads in preventative medicine and diseases, and might even be doing those practices such as metabolic health, stem cell research, intermittent fasting, for instance. And again, coming from that same place, it's that fear, constant worry, attempt to be in control of something that feels so out of control, their health. This is where their health anxiety is coming from. So again, the two forms were either bury your head in the sand or we're hypervigilant, both forms of health anxiety in women. Now, the medical community, they paint the picture to us that health anxiety is some pathological disorder. And they say that it only happens to about 4 to 6% of the population. Now, they've actually diagnosed this as a psychological disorder, and they call it illness anxiety disorder. Now, contrary to the medical community, we know here at a New Life Center, health anxiety is pervasive in nature. All women have health anxiety. So all women have health anxiety. And this is due to the nature and the wiring of us as women. And it's because We see and perceive our whole world and all our experiences through the lens of victim. Through the lens of victim. So what is this lens of victim? Now, as women, no, this is unconscious. We didn't know this. We're bringing this to the surface right now. We've lived our entire lives through the lens of victim. We call this living in camp victim. And what is a victim? Well, a victim, as a victim, we believe life happens to us. That at a very inherent, very deep level, we do not feel in control of the events and the circumstances and the things that happen to us in our life. And interestingly, very similar to health anxiety, which is pervasive in nature, all women, the therapeutic community wants us to believe that victim, meaning victim mentality or victimhood, that it is the small percentage of the population, that is actually a disorder, that it's not mainstream. When actually all women, all of us are living in camp victim from the lens of victim. And it's pervasive, again, to that human experience. And because it's so pervasive, I mean, it's all of us, we don't even have the self-awareness that we are living in camp victim. We can't even see it. We can't even see it in ourselves. And in camp victim, what this looks like is at a very deep level, again, I don't feel in control of the experiences in my life. We call this a passenger seat perspective. I feel like someone has just kind of placed me in my life, and I feel powerless to what happens in it. And I call this the experience of feeling like the ball machine is coming at me. You know, the ball machine that just keeps throwing balls. The events, the challenges, the unknowns, the losses, they just keep coming and they don't stop. And we just live in a deep fear, waiting for that next ball to come at us, waiting for that next shoe to drop. As women, we're constantly overwhelmed living in camp victim. We just can't get a handle on life. Now, we live in the sphere of life. We feel ill-equipped. What this causes is over time, it causes us to start to feel really angry, angry at the life that we have, of the powerlessness that we feel, of the events and the losses that just keep happening. And so as a result of living in camp victim, we blame. We blame. We point that finger outwards like this, and we blame mostly our upbringing, our parents, and how they brought us up in our community and the traumas that we've been through. We blame the losses. We blame our past relationships, especially as women with men. We blame our kids. We blame our spouses. We blame the world around us to help us understand why our experience of life has felt so hard. We blame out here for why our life has ended up the way that it has. So how does living in camp victim with this victim lens, how does this create this health anxiety that we all experience as women? Well, in camp victim, as I just shared, we are inherently powerless to life and the events and circumstances of it, especially circumstances like getting a disease like cancer. So as a result, we either fall into one of those two sides of the coin of health anxiety. We either bury our head in the sand. We don't want to know the status of our health. We are terrified and afraid of seeing a doctor and getting a diagnosis, and this unknown creates the health anxiety. Or we are on the other side and we become hyper-focused, hyper-vigilant on our health. We worry about it, again, because we do not feel in control of our health, and we do not feel in control of our well-being because we are powerless in camp victim. So what this causes is we live in panic and fear, both known and also under the surface. We live in fear of these diseases and illnesses like cancer that feel random, that feel like they can come out of nowhere. And again, it's a very passenger seat perspective of life. And I knew this from my own experience. Like many out there, my family, especially on my mom's side, growing up, it was just so much illness and disease. I had a number of aunts who died from MS, and I had, another handful of aunts and uncles die from cancer and different kinds of diseases like arthritis, osteoporosis, ulcers. And growing up, kind of absorbing this, taking this in, I lived with this fear of kind of in the very backside of me that I wasn't totally aware of, but I know it lived back there, of my health, of fear of, oh my gosh, am I going to be in a wheelchair when I get older? Am I going to kind of go down this pathway of my body continuing to break out? Am I just going to get cancer one day and die? Like I saw so many. So this is the fear we live in when our health and our life feels so out of our control. And this camp victim, again, it creates this panic and this experience of life. It causes us to have a deep fear of life, right? Never knowing, like, we can be in control of it, what's around the corner. And this constant fear that we live with all the time of life in camp victim, this is what causes health anxiety. Fear of life is the foundation of health anxiety. So how this happens is because in camp victim, this fear of life causes us to go into a panic mode. And so what we do is we say, okay, how do we mediate this? Life feels so big, so scary, so unknown. So what we do as women is we create these tiny little life to live in. We live a really small life, and we try to live in a really tightly controlled, what we call comfort zone, because life feels so inherently out of control in camp victim. And so health anxiety is a symptom of living in our tightly controlled and micromanaged lives that need to be in control of a life that inherently feels so unknown and so out of control, so random. So again, health anxiety is a symptom of needing to live in a tightly controlled life. Well, that's actually where health anxiety is coming from. And again, all bred from the lens of camp victim. And so for the women out there that fall into the side of the health anxiety coin of the two sides, right? Either bury your head in the sand or we're hypervigilant. For the hypervigilant about our health anxiety women, in camp victim, what happens is we end up giving all our power away to all the doctors that we see, to the health gurus that we follow, to the industry leaders that we put up on a pedestal, and try to follow those latest fads and those modalities, really believing that these self-proclaimed experts know better than we do. And again, in that constant search, researching for the next new thing, the answer, researching those latest fads, hoping that one of them will save us from this fear of succumbing to an unknown illness or disease like cancer. So again, women in the hypervigilant health anxiety category, they are researching metabolic health. They're curious about intermittent fasting, maybe looking into biohacking, peptides, stem cell research, red light therapy, all kinds of foods and superfoods, looking outside of ourselves for that holy grail that we think is just around the corner with the next book or the next research, the holy grail of illness and disease prevention. But unknowingly, year after year, giving our power and our control away, again, to these doctors, to these self-proclaimed experts, to these health gurus, and feeling more and more powerless as the years go on. Now, interestingly, this is actually the same for the other side of the health anxiety coin as women, those who bury our head in the sand, living in the unknown about our health, avoiding the doctors, scared of the status of our health, not wanting diagnosis. We live in that unknown too, and year after year continue to give our power away to the unknown status of our health, and the health anxiety continues to build and to rise in us as women. So what is the solution to health anxiety? Knowing now that all women have health anxiety. So if we share the solution, this is how we're going to be able to finally be back in the driver's seat and be able to predict the future of our health and the future of our well-being. So the first step to solve your health anxiety is to have the awareness, and I like to call this the red pill moment, that there is something other than the victim mindset to live from. There's a different camp to live in. There's a different lens we can see the world through. Up until now, we did not know there was a different lens. And what this looks like is we move from the only camp we've ever known, camp victim, and into the other camp, which is the solution to health anxiety, which is called camp take responsibility. Now, in camp take responsibility, we create a different lens of that we see and perceive our whole life through. And we choose to live here. It's a choice we make. And in camp take responsibility, I am in control of my life, my health, and well-being. And I'm in control because I realize that my experience of life, it's not because of what's happening to me. You know, life isn't happening to me. The events, the circumstances, this is just a part of life. It's not coming at me from that victim blame perspective, that really the life I have and the life I'm creating is solely because of my choices and my decisions. Again, verse what has happened to me in camp victim, that we create our life experience by our choices and decisions. And this experience in camp take responsibility, this lens that we create, this is a very empowering lens. We take our power back. We become in the driver's seat of our life and also our health. We don't really have, here in this place, we don't have to worry about life. We don't have to worry about our health because I know I'm in control. And again, I'm in control because my life is created solely for me and my choices and my decisions. It's a solely a me perspective versus camp victim is a them and a blame perspective. And in camp take responsibility, I know I am healthy. I do not feel I'm out of control of my health and my life. I know I'm healthy. And the neat thing in camp take responsibility is I can clearly see the signs in my life and in myself that I have no doubt that I'm healthy. So I don't need a doctor to tell me I'm healthy. I don't need a blood work test to tell me I'm healthy. I know I am healthy. And so people who know themselves as healthy, these are the 10 ways. So what I'm about to share with you are 10 surefire ways to know you are healthy. And again, this list was created by my mentor and the creator of all of our healing work. His name is David Cope. He is 71 and he is completely healthy, has no illness or disease, takes no medications, takes no supplements, eats no special foods. He is solidly, completely healthy and completely in the control and in the driver's seat of his health and well-being. So the first surefire way to know you're healthy, I am emotionally stable. I have high, also known as having high emotional intelligence. I see life pragmatically. I don't approach life dramatically. I see the challenges for what they are and I work through them. So emotional stability means that I don't have chronic anxiety. I don't have these emotional ups and downs throughout my life and throughout my day. I don't have these mood swings in my life. Number 2, I'm a healthy, normal weight. What that means is that I'm not underweight, and I'm also not vastly overweight. Just a nice, healthy, normal weight. And then, for me, a nice, healthy, normal weight means that there's some to love here, and that is healthy. Number 3, I take time for myself to do things I enjoy regularly. And what that means is I don't put everyone before me and put myself last. And I don't push away the things I enjoy in my life. I actually put the things, and I actively put the things I enjoy into my life to create a life I want to live in. Number 4, my life is the life for me. My life is a life for me. What this means is I'm not looking behind my shoulder thinking that the grass is greener or wishing I would have made different choices and had a different life. I like my life with all the challenges and the ups and downs and the wonderful parts, and I know that it's the kind of the God-given crafted life for me, and I'm solid in that. Number 5, I don't carry the pain of loss with me. So again, I use grief and loss as opportunities. I embrace it to grow and to learn, to become stronger in myself. Know that these are parts of life I have to experience and go through and move through. And the opposite of this is holding on to the pain of grief and the pain of loss, and actually wearing our losses, kind of invisibly as a badge of honor and as a kind of to show what we have been through in our life. Number 6, as a woman, I have regular menstrual cycles. Right? They're consistent. They happen generally the same week every month. They're just regular. I know what to expect. The opposite of this is irregular menstrual cycles, or having PMDD, or having periods that are painful. Number 7, I don't have allergies. That means I don't have seasonal allergies, outdoor allergies, indoor allergies, and I also don't have food allergies. And I'm also not sensitive to different kinds of foods. I don't have to take allergy medication, and I also don't have to avoid foods or food categories. I can digest everything properly, which actually goes into number 8. I have regular bowel movements. They're consistent. They happen, let's say, daily, and just kind of like my period. I know what to do with them. I know what to expect from them. They're very regular. And what this isn't is I don't have to take anything to make my bowel movements happen, such as to eat certain foods or take certain supplements. I don't need any support to have regular bowel movements. Number 9, I have consistent energy throughout my day. I don't have to rely on caffeine, and I sleep well at night. Again, this is all happening, this consistent energy and sleeping well, all happening naturally without any added assistance or supplementation. And number 10, this is my favorite. I am on no medications. None. So these are the 10 surefire ways to know you are healthy. And this really is showing us this is what healthy really is. It is our body functioning properly without any additional needed support, just as it was designed and as God designed it. And also it's having an emotionally stable life, a life that we want to live in, a life that we look forward to, we embrace, and we enjoy. And you can notice on this list, nothing on this list had anything to do with eating specific foods or healthy foods or doing any kinds of exercising. Being healthy also has nothing to do with mind-body practices such as meditation, mindfulness, or yoga. Remember, we can eat right, we can exercise, we can do mind-body practices, and we're still at risk for metabolic diseases, autoimmune, chronic illness. So this is what we have to do. Everyone, as women, we're all in camp victim. That's why we live with health anxiety. And what I just shared with you, this list of 10, is how we can know ourselves and experience ourselves as healthy once we make the shift into camp take responsibility. So if we have health anxiety, which we all do as women, we can know we are living in camp victim. So to summarize, what camp take responsibility looks like is it really just is a healthy perspective of life. It is going into life. It's the same life as everyone else has with the challenges, the losses, the disappointments. But we go into life ready to grow and to learn And from this perspective, life doesn't feel scary because, again, we are embracing the unknowns and the challenges as just a natural part of life and know that we can become stronger through them. From this perspective, we're not scared of life. There is no fear. Without fear of life, there is no chronic stress or anxiety about life or our health. And without chronic stress or anxiety about our life or anxiety about our health, we are healthy. And we are not at risk for metabolic disease, autoimmune disease, chronic illness. Versus, as all women, we live in Camp Victim. We're trying to have a very tightly controlled life because we have such a fear of life and fear of the unknown, including our health. And what this creates is a chronic state throughout our life of lifelong health anxiety. And living with health anxiety in Camp Victim, we will continue to stay at risk. We continue to be at risk no matter what we do, and meaning what we eat, what we exercise, how we exercise. We're still at risk for metabolic disease, autoimmune disease, chronic illness. So clearly, the solution, we have to get out of Camp Victim, and we move to Camp Take Responsibility. So for all the women out there that are watching, and you have health anxiety, take our 13-week course. We have a 13-week online educational program. This is the solution that will lead you step by step from Camp Victim to Camp Take Responsibility. And when you move to Camp Take Responsibility, and it will happen in those 13 weeks, again, simply through education, you are now becoming in the driver's seat of your health. You are no longer at risk, and you are in control of your longevity, the future of your health, and don't have to live with this chronic anxiety and fear of the unknown or of a disease popping up down the road like cancer. Right? So if you're interested in our 13-week course that's going to resolve and eliminate your health anxiety, I have a link down below for a complimentary course consultation with me. Click that to apply. And also for those looking out there, I also have a free 101 course. This is on chronic illness and autoimmune diseases. It really shares why we get autoimmune and chronic illness, what our doctors aren't telling us about these conditions, and how to permanently heal. And this is based on my own lived experience of being permanently healthy now for 10 years. All right, well, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm going to hop over to the chat before we wrap up. All right. Oh, thank you so much. Blessings from Poland. I really appreciate that. It's so means it really touches my heart to know that not only is this message getting out to people in the United States, but it's getting out to people all over the world. And that really is my purpose, to take David's work. David Cope is my mentor, of permanent healing, and to spread that worldwide so that we know as humans there's a different choice, and that we know we have the inherent right to be healthy. All right. Well, appreciate you all. Hello out there to my friends. Oh, Yola, good to see you from Poland. Big heart. So much love to you all. And keep helping me spread that message far and wide out there. All right.